Why should you despair and why should you lose hope when you, my young friend, are the chosen one? You have Iman and you have Allah. You have Iman and you have Allah. There is nothing within this multiverse that is more valuable than having Allah and than having Iman. You can have the entire multiverse equal in gold. You have no Iman, you have nothing. You have Allah, you have Iman. My young friends, you have everything. You have success in the dunya and you will have the everlasting success in the akhirah, in a life where there will be no end. You have the most valuable assets anyone can ever dream of. Real loss, which Allah considers as loss, is not having a ta'alluq with Allah and is not having Iman. Everything else, my young friends, comes and go. People come, people go. People are born, people are died. Everything is replaceable. You have a house today, you don't have a house tomorrow. You have a job today, you don't have a job tomorrow. My young friends, everything is replaceable. Your children are replaceable. Your wife is replaceable. Your job is replaceable. Your house is replaceable. There is only one thing that is not replaceable, and that is Iman. It is your most valuable asset. It is the most valuable asset of the Palestinians by the grace of Allah. You have Allah, you have Iman. The Palestinians have Allah. The Palestinians have Iman. And by the grace of Allah, this night is not about living for 5 years or 50 years or 5,000 years. If you live for 5,000 years, you don't have Allah, you don't have Iman. وَمَا هُوَ بِمُزَحْزِهِ مِنَ الْأَذَابِ. You haven't fulfilled your purpose in life. It is meaningless, my young friends. One day of life in which you have Allah and which you have Iman is better than 1,000,000 years of life in which you do not have Allah, you do not have Iman. By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Palestinians are leaving this world in a manner in which they have their most valuable asset. We're seeing this on their tongues. We're seeing this when they dug up from that rubble, martyred, shaheed, dead. We're still seeing that their finger is raised with the shahada, bearing witness there is no God worthy of worship but Allah. They're leaving with their most valuable asset to go meet their most valuable asset, their creator and their maker. Why should we despair? Why should we despair? Why should we lose hope? And by the grace of Allah, in terms of the dunya, irrespective of what the outcome of this war will be, my young friends, the Palestinians, by the grace of Allah, have achieved a phenomenal victory. They've already defeated and humiliated the fourth greatest army on planet Earth. They made them bow. They made them bow. They hit them so hard, that it drove them to insanity, as a result of which they're carrying out this genocide. They do not know what hit them. And just like when a person becomes insane, he doesn't know what to do, he goes on a rampage. This is what has become of the Israelis. Victory is not always about how much destruction you cause. Victory is not only about how much of the enemy that you've killed. My young friends, if that was the case, then what happened in Uhud? 70 believers were killed in Uhud, they were martyred. More believers were killed in Uhud and martyred than those that didn't believe in Allah, the enemy. But okay, they even got better of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah was covered in blood. His helmet got stuck to his cheek. His tooth became shaheed. And the Prophet ﷺ was saying, making dua, Allah maghfir li qawmi fa innahum la ya'lamun. But in spite of this, my young friends, this great loss of the believers, the Muslims were victorious. And the reason the Muslims were victorious Because the kuffar, when they came with their arrogance to the battlefield, they came with a mission, an objective. Their objective was to annihilate Islam and Muslims and put an end to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But they left the battlefield without fulfilling their objective. So much so, my young friends, that when they returned, they themselves acknowledged their failure and they regretted that they had an opportunity to fulfill their objective, but they did not take advantage of the situation and fulfill their objective. As a result of this, my young friends, the victory was for the Muslims. The Palestinians have humiliated this army. They've already acknowledged that they've lost the media war. The Palestinians succeeded in gaining support for their cause, for our cause, in a manner that they've never achieved over the last 75 years. And with this support, your support, my support, and the support of the hundreds of millions of people, my young friends, before October the 7th, there were only 5-6 million people dreaming of this dream that Palestine should be free and Palestine should be liberated by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is not 5 million, 6 million people that are dreaming this dream. Today, my young friends, there are hundreds of millions of people around the globe, those that believe in Allah, those that reject Allah, those that associate partners with Allah, whether they are Chinese, whether they are Burmese, whether they are American, whether they are English, whether they are Europeans, whether they are Africans, all coming out in support week after week in their thousands, protesting in support of the Palestinians. And inshallah, with this support, my young friends, the Palestinians will gain more strength and they will continue the resistance till inshallah, one day, whenever my master wills, Palestine will be free. The Palestinians have succeeded, my young friends, in exposing the true nature and the brutality of this occupier in a manner that they've never succeeded in the last 75 years. The last 75 years, they've been suffering in silence. Now, my young friends, they will never suffer in silence, because they've unmasked the brutality and true nature of this oppressor. My young friends, we're seeing this in their bombing of hospitals. We're seeing this in their bombing of schools and nurseries and ambulance. It's got to such a degree, my young friends, even those that were supporting them and have been supporting them for years have slowly but surely started distancing themselves from them. When, my young friends, a people start oppressing, my young friends, this is the beginning of their downfall. This is the rule of my master, irrespective of who the oppressor is, whether that oppressor is one that believes in Allah or whether that oppressor is one that doesn't believe in Allah. Allah does not like dhulm. Allah has made dhulm and oppression haram. Allah does not like zalimeen. Allah does not like the oppressors. When a qawm begins to do zulm, when a qawm becomes arrogant and believes that they're untouchable, my young friends, that is the beginning of the end of that qawm. I have yaqeen, this is the beginning of the end of this aggressor, and slowly but surely this zulm, this tyranny, this injustice will come to an end. And inshallah, in our lifetime, if not in our lifetime, then in our children's lifetime, whenever my master has willed, my young friends, Palestine will be free, and the people of Palestine will also be free. This is not about October the 7th. For the last 75 years, there's only ever been one objective, and that objective is to break the resolve, the firmness, and the resoluteness of the people of Palestine. This is why, my young friends, for the last 75 years, the intimidation, the oppression, the tyranny, the humiliation, imprisoning children, women, without any crime whatsoever, restricting their movement, their right to work, dignity, honor, my young friends, has been going on for over 75 years. Now they saw it as an opportunity, and that's why this siege, nothing comes in, nothing goes out. This bombardment of hospitals and ambulances, the objective is only one thing, my young friends. The objective is to break the people of Gaza, break the people of Palestine, spare no one, not even their babies, not even their children, that they never see this dream. They never dream this dream. Their children don't dream this dream. But 100 generations down the line, they don't dream this dream that Palestine should ever be free. This is the objective. Why should we despair? Tell me, my young friends, has the objective been achieved? Have they broke the resolve and the firmness of the people of Palestine? What have you witnessed? What have you seen? What are you seeing? وَمَا زَادُهُمْ إِلَّا إِيمَانٌ وَتَسْلِيمًا. Does it not remind you of Uhud? When the Prophet ﷺ and the believers returned to Medina al-Munawwara, 70 have been martyred, many have become injured. The kuffar have gone back. They regret. They could have finished the Muslims. They should have finished the Muslims. They sent a message, they sent a person to go scare the believers. Tell them that the Quraysh are coming with an army like the likes of which they've never seen. And this army will annihilate them from the face of the earth. This person comes, meets the Prophet ﷺ and conveys the message. Rather than the believers being afraid, look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. What did they say? فَزَادُمْ إِيمَانًا حَسْبُنَ اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. Rather than being afraid, they said, حَسْبُنَ اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. Allah is sufficient for us. And in spite of the fact, my young friends, 70 have been martyred, many have been injured, they're tired, they leave Medina for a second time to fight the kuffar. This is what we witness today. In spite of them losing every member of their family, in spite of them losing their livelihood, their houses have been blown to bits. They've lost everything. They've lost everything. But still, my young friends, they're not prepared to run away to the Sinai desert as was their wish and their desire. And they're standing up against this aggression and oppression, and they will continue to do this. We have witnessed stories of Iman, my young friends, which remind us of the Khairul Qurun. Who would have thought in the 21st century we will witness stories of Iman which remind us of the Khairul Qurun? A father lost his child, he's become shaheed. And how many were there like this? Rather than mourning his death, he's thanking Allah for this great blessing and offers 2 rakat salatul shukr for blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him. Doesn't it remind you of that Sahabi who was taken to the gallows to be executed, and the kuffar asked him for his last wish, and he says to them, allow me to offer 2 rakats in salah, for the time has come to meet my Lord. And when he offers those 2 rakats, he says to them, had it not been for the fear that you people think I'm afraid of death, I would have asked you to allow me to read another 2 rakats. You've got a guy, he's lost his child. He's not mourning his death. He's saying, because now his child will meet Prophet ﷺ in the Akhirah, he's taken advantage. Rather than mourning and crying, he's talking to him. And he's saying to him, convey my salam to my beloved Nabi Muhammad ﷺ. Does it not remind you of that Sahabi? He's in his last throes. He was killed by the kuffar just before he died. There's no one there. Prophet ﷺ is hundreds of miles away in Madinatul Munawwara. He makes dua to Allah. Oh Allah, I beg you. His focus is not upon himself or his family members. His focus is upon his Nabi and his beloved. And he's saying to Allah, oh Allah, I beg you, convey my salam to my Habib Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Such was the sincerity and purity that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is hundreds of miles away. Allah through wahi informs Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam utters from a few hundred miles away, wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the level of Iman. My young friends, there's no need for you and I to be worried about the Palestinians. For Palestine will be free. My young friends, the blood of a shaheed never goes to waste. And the dua of a mazloom never goes unanswered. Your Rabb has taken an oath and promised, لَأَنْصُرَنَّكَ وَلَوْ بَعْدَ حِينٍ. My young friends, Palestine will be free. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And Allah knows and you do not know. What you and I need to realize, my young friend, is simply this. With Iman will come test. With Iman will come difficulty. You can't separate Iman from difficulty. They lazim, malzoom. This dunya that Allah has created, it is not a place to wine and dine. It is not a place to take the chill pill. Ad-dunya sijn al-mu'min. The Prophet ﷺ said that this dunya for a believer is a prison. The reason Allah created you and me, my young friends, خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. Is to put you and I through difficulty, to test us. My young friends, Allah says, حَسِبَ النَّاسِ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do you think that you will say, La ilaha illallah, there's no God worthy of worship but Allah, and that's it? After that you can just take the chill pill and enjoy yourself? There will be no difficulty, there will be no misery, there will be no test. Do you think أم حسبتم أن تدخلوا الجنة ولما يأتكم مثل الذين خلوا من قبلكم مستهم البأساء والضراء وزلزلوا حتى يقول الرسول والذين آمنوا معه متى نصر الله. Do you think that you're going to enter Jannah just like this? Yet you haven't been tested like those before you were tested. They were tested with calamities. They were tested with difficulties. They were tested with poverty. They were tested by their enemy getting the best of them. They were tested so much and shaken that even the Nabi of Allah and those that believed with him began to say, when will the help of Allah come? When will the help of Allah come? Allah says, my young friends, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوءِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. We're going to definitely test you. O Musliman, we're surely going to test you. Sometime this test will be that your enemy will get the better of you. Sometime this test will be that you will make a loss in terms of your wealth. Sometimes the test will be that you will make a loss in the sense that you will become shaheed. You will lose your life. You will lose your family members. My young friends, as we are seeing in Gaza, my young friends, in this dunya, you and I cannot benefit from the luxury of driving a car. Driving a car is not a luxury in this dunya. It's a necessity. For a car takes you from A to B. You and I cannot benefit from this blessing of a car without going through some form of difficulty. You have to pay for 20, 30 lessons. You have to sacrifice your wealth. You have to sacrifice your time in taking these lessons. Then you have to pass a theory test. You have to pass a practical test. How many of us fail these tests many times? We have to do all this just before we can drive a small car. This is the dunya, and you think that you and I are going to receive the everlasting blessings of Jannah. فيها أنهار من ماء غير آسن وأنهار من لبن لم يتغير طعمه وأنهار من خمر لذة للشاربين. You're going to receive the rivers of milk. You're going to receive the rivers of fresh water. You're going to receive the rivers of honey, whereof the flavor has not changed. You're going to receive the rivers of wine without any difficulty. You're going to receive Hura'in so beautiful. When they spit in the oceans, if she were to spit in the ocean, the 7 oceans, my young friends, the salty water of the ocean would become sweeter and honey. Her fingertip, the beauty of it, would put the beauty of the sun and the moon to shame. They are so beautiful, so beautiful. When your eyes falls upon one of them, my young friends, your eyes will pop, your jaws will drop. They are so beautiful, some of them. Had Allah not already decreed and destined that Jannatis are not going to die, just by looking at them, my young friends, your heart would have popped and you would have died. You think you're going to receive this just like this? You think you're going to receive the palaces of Jannah made out of rubies, diamonds and emeralds, and you're going to receive blessings. مَا لَا عَيْنٌ رَأَتْ وَلَا أُذُنٌ سَمِعَتْ وَلَا خَطَرَ عَلَى قَلْبِ بَشَرٍ. Blessing which no eye has seen, blessing which no ear has heard. Even the thought of these blessings has not crossed the human mind. My young friends, you're going to receive وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَشْتَهِي أَنفُسُكُمْ وَلَكُمْ فِيهَا مَا تَدَّعُونَ. Wherever your heart desires, whatever it desires, whatever you ask your Rabb for, you're going to receive all this. For how long? My young friends, a life that will never come to an end. For billions and billions and billions of years, the blessings will just increase in terms of beauty, in terms of color, in terms of taste. You're going to receive this just like this by just saying La ilaha illallah and then taking a chill pill and resting till your last breath without any difficulty, with just ease. Never in a million years, my young friends. For everything has a price. Everything has a price. There is nothing for free. Everything has a price. The more valuable an item is, the more rare a thing is, the more unique a thing is, the higher the price. Look at the price of gold. Look at the price of diamonds, my young friends. Allah inna sil'at Allahi ghaliya. Allah inna sil'at Allahi al-Jannah. There is nothing more valuable. There is nothing more rare and unique than this Jannah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. This is why, my young friends, this is the ultimate reward of a believer. The price, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَمْوَالَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. You want Jannah? Then you're looking in Gaza, they're paying the price. What will you have to give to Allah for Jannah? You will sacrifice your wealth if Allah wants your wealth. You will sacrifice your children if Allah wants your children. If Allah wants your time, you will give Allah your time. If Allah wants your life, you will give Allah your life. And if Allah wants all these things, you will give Allah all these things, and at the same time you will utter رَضِيتُ بِاللَّهِ رَبَّا وَبِالْإِسْلَامِ دِينًا وَبِمُحَمَّدٍ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ نَبِيًّا وَرَسُولًا. I'm happy with Allah as my Lord, Islam as my deen, Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم as my Nabi and my Rasul. This is when my Rabb and your Rabb will give you this Jannah. My young friends, you need to realize, and I need to realize, this is the rule of Allah. This has been rule of Allah, and this will be the rule of Allah right till the Day of Judgment. You and I and the people of Gaza are not the first people that Allah's testing, that Allah's putting through difficulty. Allah says to make it easy for you, to make it easy for me, so you can understand the tariqah of Allah, the sunnah of Allah with regards to those belief. So I can understand the tariqah of Allah and the sunnah of Allah with regards to those that believe. Allah says, O Muslimano, وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. You know the only ones that been tested, I've tested those before you. Look